Hey friends, I'm Jeff, and welcome back to the workshop. We are on part 2 of our record number 5, Vise restoration. You'll remember that in part 1, we took the Vise apart, and then we cleaned it and removed about 6 million tons worth of grease, but we're not going to worry about it because it's just fine. Then we are on to part 2, where we are going to do some repair work on the Vise, and then we will begin some preparation for painting, and then the actual painting, and then my favorite, final reassembly. So hey, enough talking about it. Let's go up to the command center and let's talk about what we got to do first. Alright everyone, welcome up to the command center. Always good to see you. Let's go ahead and fire up the command center mainframe so we can talk about what we got to do with our record number 5 bench vise. Alright, first things first, just to give ourselves a little reminder where we are going to load up a little flyover video. And here we can see the vise completely disassembled into all of its parts. Certainly can see some damage somewhere, but we are going to start with the vise jaw screws. So let's load up our second video here real quick. Alright, we are going to set out our vise jaws. So next up is our vise screws, and as you might remember, we only have 2 left because we had to drill 2 of them out. And I'm going to bring up one of the screws here close to the camera. As you can see, once we get focus, that it looks pretty good, not bad. But when we get to this second one, oh yeah, definitely mangled it. So I've just decided we're going to go ahead and replace all 4 screws. I was not able to find the exact same screws, so we are going to use some hex bolts, as you see right there. And we will take these hex bolts to the belt sander to shape the head in the correct shape of a machine screw. And then we'll finish them by cutting a slot in the top of them so they are slotted machine screws. Okay, that's the plan. So you know what? Less talk, more shop. Let's get to it.
Alright guys, welcome back up to the command center. So I think that first part went very well. I will tell you that I did refabricate 3 of the Vise jaw screws. Again, they didn't come out quite as consistently as I wanted them. Second time around, I used 2 carriage bolts and then another hex head bolt. I think the carriage bolts actually work a little better. If we look at the video right here, we can see that I think they came out pretty good, pretty consistent across each of the screws. Now you'll notice that one hanging out there. More on that in a second. Gonna load up another video here on the mainframe. And this is what we're gonna work on next. This dynamic jaw. You can see that somebody has taken, I don't know if it was a hacksaw or a cutting wheel, and just has cut the heck out of this. Now, if I also restart the video here real quick and let it move forward, this is why I can't really live with it. They really took out a lot of that jaw. All right, so the plan is that we're going to use some epoxy. We'll create some molds around the jaw, and then we'll pour the epoxy in there, and then we'll let it harden, and then we'll come back and we will file it into shape. Now, let's talk about that one bolt that we saw hanging out. And as you can see right inside of there, it looks like that the bolt holes don't line up, which may really explain why we had so much difficulty getting the Vise jaw screws out of the vise. Somehow the bolt holes have become out of alignment. I think what we're going to do with this one is fill that hole with epoxy, and then we will re-tap the hole in a new position there. So that's our plan. We are going to repair the dynamic jaws and then also refill in the bolt hole on the stationary jaw and re-tap that hole. So let's get to it. right, friends, I think that actually went quite well and pretty well as planned. The only minor deviations that I had is that I ended up retapping both holes. If you take a look at the picture on the screen right here, you can see that they both kind of look a little mangled, so I decided to go ahead and just fill both in and re-tap them. Now, the only little problems that I ran into is that I was minorly imprecise when re-drilling and tapping my holes. One of the holes was just not quite far enough down, and I had to widen the holes on the vice jaws themselves. I'd show you the process and how I did it, but as you can see, I've been practicing really hard on getting my arms in the way of the camera, so that was one little challenge that I had. So now it's time for prepping and painting, and if we look at the picture here, what we are going to do, we are going to keep with the blue color for the body of the vise. It'll be a slightly different blue color, but we'll stick with blue, and then I'm going to paint the vise jaws and the vise screws black. Alright, so that's the plan. Blue on the body, black on the vise jaw and the screws. So let's get back down to that shop and let's get to prep and painting.
Oh, the vise is done and ready to go, and I can't wait to show you. So let's just head on out the door and let's take a look at it. All right, here's a good first look at our record number 5 bench vise. So as we zoom in here, you can see that it looks like the vise might be a little greasy. It's not, it's just some weathering paint that I put on it to give it that vise, that already used look. And of course it'll pick up that look over time. And you might be like, Jeff, why'd you do that? Listen, it's my vise. I get to do what I want. Speaking of finishes, once I got all the vise parts clean, I coated all the parts with 3 coats of shellac. Then I painted the vise jaws and the vise screw and the vise handle with flat black acrylic enamel. The brand is Durex. In the end, wasn't really happy with the flat finish, so I ended up spraying those parts with some clear 2X glossy enamel and then took out some of the shine with some quad O steel wool. And then finally, as you see with the entire body of the vise, we painted it blue with some fast dry enamel. This brand makes something similar to the farm implement machinery paints that you would find in the United States. All right, let's talk lubrication. So any of the inside parts I did coat with a little grease just to help keep the rust down on the inside. And then all the outside parts, like the vise slide here that you see, I just coated with 3-in-1 oil. I'm avoiding the heavy use of grease because grease just gets everywhere and it attracts dirt. And then sooner or later you start touching your vise and it gets on your hands no matter where you're touching the vise. And then it gets on your projects. So we just have some judicious use of grease on internal parts. Of course, the true test of any vise is the one finger open and close. Let's take a look at that. Oh yeah, buttery smooth.
Hey friends, before we go, I just want to remind you, hey, do you have any spare or unused tools laying around your workshop? I just looked and you do. So I want to encourage you to donate any of your spare or unused tools to a local charity of your choosing, because a good tool is more than just a tool. A good tool is an opportunity, and everyone deserves a good tool. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.